Yes, hello, welcome to the Rugby League Forecast podcast for round. Oh, hang on, the Manly jersey's come off. Emergency, stop the podcast. Is that a bad sign? Is that a sign that Brisbane might beat us? I hope not. Well, that'll do there for now. All right, here we go. Round 10 tips and predictions. Now, last week I got 5 out of 8. The 2 rounds before that, I got 6 out of 8. I'm on a little bit of a roll, but I'm disappointed with 5 out of 8. To win your tipping comps, I believe you need to aim for at least 6 out of 8 most weeks. If you can get 6 or more than that, then and you're consistent with that, then you're going to start winning your tipping comps quite consistently and start creating a dynasty, in my opinion. That'd be great, wouldn't it? If you won 4 in a row in a competition. Might make the tipping comp a bit boring for the others, but I could only dream. Now, round 10, Thursday night football between the Bulldogs and the Dolphins. From the outside in, when you look at this game, you think, oh, look, the Bulldogs are not in form. It's Dolphins beat Melbourne last week. They've only lost their games by small margins. They lost to Penrith in Golden Point. Oh, I think this is a harder game to pick than what we all think. I think Stephen Crichton will have a big game. I think he wants to lead from the front, and he's a leader. He's a captain. He wants to be he doesn't just lead them out onto the park when he runs out. He leads them in all aspects, on and off the field. He is just absolutely sensational. I can see him, even though he hasn't been in form so far for the majority of season 2026, I can genuinely see him having a really big game in this one. Look, they still have quality players there. I genuinely believe that the Dogs are going to be right in this contest. In saying that, I think the Dolphins get them in a really close one. And now, if this is Golden Point, it would not surprise me. Now, I understand the Bulldogs have lost their last 3 games, I believe, and their last win was against Penrith, I think, close to a month ago now. They haven't been in form. They've been very disappointing, the Dogs. We all know that, but there is still quality on the park. Now, Jonathan Sewer has been named on the wing, and Marcelo Montoya in the reserves. Expect Montoya to be named as a starting winger in this game. That's my opinion. And I reckon they'll probably stick with Burton at 5'8" and Lachlan Galvin at halfback. Of course, Sean O'Sullivan has been named on the bench. He may come on and play a bit of dummy half, and Bailey Hayward could play a fair bit of lock forward when Jamin Salmon comes off and could be shifted over there. So there will be some changes, but that they need to start scoring points now. The Bulldogs only scoring 12 points against the Cowboys at a core stadium last week was really disappointing. I think if the Dolphins are going to win this, I mean, we're talking about a side, the Dolphins, that can score points, but their defence isn't overly great either. It was good last week against Melbourne. I'll give them credit for that. But I genuinely believe that the Dolphins will win this game in a really close one. And my prediction will be Golden Point. So enjoy your Thursday night football. You strap your seatbelt in there, because that is going to be a fantastic game between the Doggies and the Dolphins. Now, the following game, Friday at 6 p.m, is between here we go. Let's scroll over. There's a lot of games, isn't there? As I scroll up, it's just like one game. Here we go. Roosters and Titans. Now, for me, I think the Roosters will win this 30 plus. I think the Titans are just a bottom 2 side this year. I don't like what I'm seeing from them. I do like the changes that have been made in this game from Josh Hannay. I think he's been very patient and kind to his players to start the opening couple of months of the season. In saying that, I genuinely believe Josh Hannay has now just got the whip cracking now and saying, hey, if you're not going to perform up to the standards that I set as a head coach, you can fuck off back to the bench or play Queensland Cup. And I think that's fair enough now. I think he's been pretty consistent in the team he's picked. I do love Cooper Bye starting in the 13 jersey in this game for the Gold Coast Titans. I could see him being the starting lock forward for the Titans for many, many years. In my opinion, and it's a big call, but I think when I watch Cooper Bye play, he reminds me of a young Jason Taumalolo that could nail that lock position there and cement his spot there for many, many years to come. For me personally, I mean, I know Jason Taumalolo starts at front row at the moment, but he was in that 13 jersey for around 10 years for the Cowboys and one of the best lock forwards I've ever seen in the NRL. He's been close to his best again this year, but he had a few quiet years there. But great to see him back to his best. Yeah, for me, this game, I think the Roosters win 30 plus. I'm going to move on quickly there because I think I don't want to analyse this too much because I think at the end of the day, I don't think there's much to analyse. I think there's a classy team against a team full of players that are inexperienced. You have a young man on debut, of course, for the Gold Coast Titans, who is Zane Harrison. I like Oliver Pascoe starting at dummy half. Sam Verrills has been moved to the reserves. I think they needed to make some changes there. Chris Randall at back row will be very good for them defensively on that edge. I've got no doubt. Curtis Moran has been back. He's back to the bench. So yeah, look, I think the Roosters just have far too much class, and I think it could get quite ugly for the Gold Coast Titans. Arama Howe has moved back from a starting edge position at back row back to the bench. I like this from Josh Hannay. He's making it clear to his players and the supporters that this lack of consistency from the Gold Coast Titans so far this year is not on, and changes had to be made. And it's fair to say that Josh Hannay isn't afraid of making changes, which in my opinion is only a good thing for the Gold Coast Titans moving forward. The following game is the Cowboys and the Parramatta Eels. Yeah, I really like the Cowboys in this game. I think they're too good, too classy, and they've won 6 from their last 7. Can you believe it? They lost their first 2 games. Gee, they were disappointing against the Newcastle Knights in Vegas. They were really, really shocking in that game. They just didn't really offer much at all. I think the Knights were up 12-0, and then I'm pretty sure the Cowboys scored 2 tries when Fletcher Sharp came off in that game, and it was 12-all. So they did get back into it, but just their lack of creativity in that game and their lack of spark and attack. Scott Drinkwater didn't offer much in the opening 2 games, but gee, he's been great the last month. Apart from that game against Manly, he was a bit quiet then, but I think overall he's been really good for them. I think they just have too much class. Now, I know Murray Talangi is out of this game, and Jeremiah Nanai will be out long-term for the Cowboys with that shoulder injury, but I just love the work that Sam McIntyre has done in that number 12 jersey for the Cowboys so far in season 2026. I just genuinely believe they'll win this, and I think they'll win it quite well. I liked what I saw from Parramatta when they versed Manly last week, which actually made me tip Parramatta to beat the Warriors last week, to be honest. 2 weeks ago was Manly Para, but I tipped Para to beat Warriors last week. And the only reason was because it was 7-6 at halftime against Manly at 4 Pines Park. And Manly have been, in fine form the last 5 weeks. But it was the way Parramatta straightened up their attack and their defense it showed a lot of resilience and trust from the players. There's a team there, Parramatta, that play for their coach and their coaching staff. They're a team that they're playing for each other, and they're a team of players there that really want to win and do what they can, considering the injuries they have. Now, there's no Will Penasini in this game. He's out, and Jordan Samrani comes into the centres. For me personally, Isaiah Iongi, another few weeks away. They miss him. They really do. Jermaine Hopgood, for me, is one of the biggest losses of the season from any side. Look, he's not the superstar player, Jermaine Hopgood, but he just reminds me of a young Jake Trbojevic. It just gets there, reliable, makes his tackles, has an offload in his game, a ball playing lock that is just so heavily involved. Of course, he can play back row and front row as well. So he's got that versatility in him as well. They miss him. They miss Bailey Simonson, who I thought actually did a pretty good job to start season 2026 until he got rubbed out against the Tigers with that shocking foot injury there. That was bad. So he's rubbed out for the season. And Matt Dury, of course, had a hip drop tackle on him, and he's rubbed out for the season. In my opinion, I think if there is players rubbed out for the season for foul play, I genuinely believe they should be compensated for the salary cap. I just think that, there's bad luck in rugby league, but then there's just shit that's just 100% unfair. And for me, I think that's something the NRL will have to discuss later in the year moving forward. All right, that's the second game of Friday night football. So at the moment, I've gone the Dolphins to beat the Dogs in a really close game. Expect the Dogs to lift in this game. And I've gone the Roosters to smash the Gold Coast Titans 30+, and I've gone the Cowboys to smash Parramatta in this game. I think it could get quite ugly as well. Could be a quite high scoring Friday night football for around 10 this week. Saturday at 3 p.m, the Dragons and the Knights. Now, I understand that everyone jumps on Newcastle and thinks, oh no, they're going to beat the Dragons. The Dragons are fucked. We need to remember that the Dragons are coming off a bye, and I genuinely believe the Dragons can win this game. Am I going to tip them? No. I don't have the confidence to tip them until I see more out of them. At the moment, I think Knights will win this, but do not write the Dragons off completely. I think coming off a bye, reassessing with a new interim coach who, he walked out 15 minutes early before the game finished at Anzac round against the Roosters. I think he's fired up and ready to go as a head coach to make sure they can do anything to win this game. Now, Clint Gutherson has been named at fullback in this game. I think that's the way to go for the rest of the year, because for me, Tyrell Sloan had his opportunity to cement that fullback spot for the rest of the year, and they could possibly look at Gutherson moving into the halves at 5'8", and possibly Atkinson at halfback and young Cade Reid off the bench. I mean, who knows? But for me, I don't think Tyrell Sloan showed enough in defence that he can handle those big occasions at fullback at the moment. I think Clint Gutherson is the best option they have at fullback at the moment, so I can totally understand why he has been named there for this week and beyond. Now, for me, I'm going Newcastle, but I genuinely believe this will be a really close game. I think the Dragons will get very close. I really do. I think Valentine Holmes and, look, they've been bad this year, the Dragons. We all know that, but they still have plenty of class and quality in this side. I mean, Hamish Stewart, for me, has not been spoken about enough in the media. He has been one of the best players that the Dragons have had wear that jersey for the last 10 years. I'm pretty sure he's a young local junior. And for me, Hamish Stewart is just one player you want in your team. Love to see Dylan Egan starting at back row in this game. Fantastic to see him returning from a long-term injury there. Young Cade Reid, excited to see how he goes. Defensively, he struggled the other week against the Roosters, but that was expected. First game against the likes of Angus Crichton, Siwa Wong. I mean, look, I think he did a good job. But for me, in saying that, I genuinely believe that the Knights win, but I just don't think it's a definite. I do not think it's a definite. I think there's a lot of rounds this week that we look at and think, oh yeah, it seems like an easy round, but when you really go through the team lists and analyze the team lists and look at the reserves and suggest the players coming onto the reserves that will be starting from the reserves to start, it makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more harder to tip. So I actually genuinely believe it's a hard round to tip. I'll go Newcastle, say 32 points to 24, something like that. An 8-point margin. But I think the Dragons will have points in this game. Now, the second game, Friday night football, this is going to be a blockbusting game. The Rabbitohs and the Sharks. Now, on Monday, I was going to tip the Sharks, and then the team lists came out yesterday, and I saw Jai Gray was named. I love Matt Duffy back as a 14. I think that's something that they'll have to keep him on the bench for the rest of the year. I think if there is an injury to Jai Gray, it's not good for Latrell Mitchell to go fullback. He needs to stay in the centres with how well he's playing at the moment. Campbell Graham will be shifted from the wing back into the centres in this game. No Jack Whiten in this game, so he is a big loss, especially in defence. He's one of the best defensive centres in the game. Ashton Ward starting at halfback. Oh, gee, I'm going to go Souths, but this is definitely one that only because Jai Gray's back at fullback. The Sharks, Jesse Ramian still not in to return. I think Ronaldo Mulatalo will return, but later in the year. I think around round 25, round 26 is when I last saw that he will return. So, I'm going to go Rabbitohs in a really close game. This game last year, Rabbitohs versus Brisbane, and the Rabbitohs beat Brisbane. I think they were paying about $4, and I tipped them. Not because I thought they would win, to be honest. I was just struggling in my tipping comp, and in my tipping comp, I might tip footy. I tip footy. So if you get $4, you get 4 points. So you're betting. Your tipping points are based on the betting odds. So I just chased value there and got it right. But it was the game, round 10, I believe, last year where Latrell Mitchell kicked that 45 to 50 metre field goal against Brisbane. It just went straight over the black dot, and they beat Brisbane, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I remember thinking after that game, Brisbane are fucked here. How they ended up winning that comp, looking back at it, it's just absolutely wild what they achieved. I'm going to go the Rabbitohs in this game. I think it's going to be a really good game of football. Really, really excited to see how they go. 7:35 p.m. p.m. Manly and Broncos. Now, I'm really worried about this game. I'm going to go Manly, but I've noticed Ben Hunt is on the reserves now. I understand Tom Duffy did a really good job when he played earlier in the year, and when he came on last week against the Roosters, I think the way he brought energy and momentum into the Brisbane attack was absolutely fantastic. Look, I think that if Ben Hunt plays in this game, I actually think that they lack a lot of experience in this game, and I think Madge will be thinking the same thing. So if Ben Hunt will play, I think Madge will start Ben Hunt at halfback alongside Ezra Mam at 5'8". Corey Pakes, I think, will start the game at dummy half, and I think Thomas Duffy will come on the field at some stage from the bench if Ben Hunt is to start at halfback, and I think and he'll probably play a ball-playing lock role. They might shift Paddy Carrigan to front row after he's had a huge stint playing at lock forward in that game. That's the way that could go. Very up in the air how Brisbane are going to start this game with the players available and out in saying that as well. So going to be interesting. I'm going to go Manly in this game. I could see it being a real low-scoring game, to be honest with you. Both teams have been very good defensively over the last month in particular. I'll go Manly, probably around sort of 24 points to 14, something like that. All right, now the first game of the Sunday ticket is between the Storm and the Tigers. I've been flip-flopping all week. One of my best mates, Nathan, is a huge Tigers fan. He told me earlier that unfortunately he thinks Melbourne will win. So I've tipped Tigers for the majority of this year, but this week I'm going to tip Melbourne based on, Nathan's a Tigers tragic fan, and he just thinks Heath Mason at fullback is a bit of a concern going into this game. So I'm going to go with Nathan in this game. I'm going to go with Melbourne to win the game. Of course, I'll be cheering the Tigers for my mate. And for the game. I think the game really wants the Tigers and needs the Tigers to do well. But in saying that, I'll just go Melbourne with absolutely no trust at all. I've tipped Melbourne every week. Actually, no, I haven't. I tipped Parramatta round 1, believe it or not. And of course, it's one of the only games Melbourne won. But I've just tipped Melbourne every week the last 7 weeks. So surely, surely they get a win for me soon, don't they? I'll go Melbourne, but with absolutely no confidence in this game. All right, now the last game of the round is Canberra and Panthers. Now, this is a harder game than what you think. I can actually remember late in the year, I think it was around round 23 or round 24, season 2024, where the Panthers were heavy favourites against Canberra at GIO Stadium. And Canberra didn't make the top 8 that year, but it was Penrith that actually came on and really struggled. Canberra just put so much heat on them. The return of Hudson Young in this side is massive. I love what Corey Horsburgh has done since moving from lock forward into a front row position. Of course, there's no Josh Papali'i as well in this game, but what Canberra did last week was absolutely fantastic without Ethan Strange as well. So for me personally, I think Canberra are a huge chance. I really do. I think they can win this game, but I'm going to tip Penrith based on trust and their system at the moment. So guys, look, I've tipped who I think will win. But this is a game where I could see 4 or 5 upsets just fucking randomly happen. I really can. So it's going to be a really, really hard round of tipping. From the outside in, I looked at it a week ago and I thought, I'll look at round 10. I think, oh yeah, that's an easy round. And then team lists Tuesday come out and I just think, oh my God, this is so much harder than what I first thought. So enjoy your rugby league for round 10 of the NRL Telstra Premiership competition. This is the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran. If you love what you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Just click on that subscribe button there for the Rugby League Forecast podcast. And if you're listening to me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please click that follow button as well because your support makes a huge difference. I want to help build this podcast community and over the off season in particular as well. I'm doing 3 episodes a week at the moment, but over the off season I want to do heaps of rugby league content. So this podcast will just keep going and going and going, and with that, hopefully, it keeps growing and growing and growing with your support. So to everyone that has listened, to everybody that has watched and supported me, to my family and friends, I genuinely really appreciate it, and it's great. It genuinely is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. This is the Rugby League Forecast podcast. That is my round 10 tips and predictions. My name is Connor Moran. Enjoy your rugby league for round 10.